Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you watch this video, I would like to welcome you to a short introduction of the resourcing project and how the Flagship Lab on the mobility sector is part of it. My name is Stefanie de Greif, and I work for Öko-Institut in Germany. We from Öko-Institut, so my colleague Johannes Betz and myself, are responsible for the mobility sector and the resourcing project. That's why we are organizing this Flagship Lab. So what the Resourcing Project, the global stakeholder platform for responsible sourcing? The Resourcing Project is a team of 12 partners from around the world, from Europe, South Africa, and Chile. Vienna University is the coordinator of this project. The project team is supported by our advisory board and platform steering committee with external experts from different stakeholder groups, from NGO to industry and the European Commission. The project is funded under the Horizon 2020 program from the European Commission. And the project has started in November 2019 and will end in October next year. So we're dealing with the Corona pandemic, and that's why this event is also held as a digital one. It was planned originally as a physical event. What are the goals of the whole resourcing project? So one overarching aim is to set up an international platform on responsible sourcing to support the networking between the different actors. Here you can see further information on the project website below. The other overarching goal is to create the necessary framework conditions for responsible sourcing in the European Union as well as globally. On the more practical focus side, we look deeper in three relevant sectors: the renewable energy sector, the mobility sector, and the electronics sector. For these three sectors, we have developed the state of play report already, which are all published on the resourcing website. Here, challenges, key players, standards, and initiatives, and the main vision for responsible sourcing in each of the sectors until 2050 are addressed. In the next step, we also identify good practice examples, our so-called flagship cases. Here, we would like to transfer the good practice approaches in peer learning workshops to other institutions. In the peer learning workshop in the mobility sector, our flagship lab will be on the 1st of March. Based on this know-how and exchange, we will develop a good practice guidance document on mobility in the weeks after the flagship lab. And with all the knowledge exchange and further interviews and workshops in the coming month, we will develop a roadmap 2050 on responsible sourcing in the mobility sector until end of June this year. For the renewable energy sector, here all documents are finalized and published on the project website already. In the mobility sector, we are currently at the status of the flagship lab on the 1st of March, and the electronics sector will follow the mobility sector in the coming month. In parallel, there will be 3 global advocacy fora organized from the project team. And here we will discuss the roadmaps, specific topics of the roadmaps, but also one main aim is to discuss the framework for responsible sourcing. Coming back to the mobility sector, the mobility sector itself is very broad, and we needed to focus in this sector in the beginning. And so we have agreed on the focus on lithium-ion batteries as we look in the future with the roadmap 2050, and here on the value chain steps: mining, cell production, including OEMs, and recycling. The relevant materials we are looking at are lithium, cobalt, nickel, and graphite, natural graphite, as well as synthetic graphite. As mentioned before, we have published the State of Play report on mobility sector last year, and also had a first brainstorming workshop on the roadmap in the mobility sector in October 2021. So you have all registered for the Flagship Lab, and thanks a lot for your interest. Just a short introduction now in the 4 identified good practice examples, so our flagship cases. We have responsible procurement of minerals by using a strong standard. So how can responsible procurement be implemented in a company? You can find this presentation from Irma and BMW on the project Password Protected site. Then the overarching regulation for a circular economy that cover the entire product value chain. This is on the battery regulation and how the regulation was developed, understanding the benefits and get insights into the strategic choices, challenges, and the success factors. The presentation by the European Commission is also available on the site. Then we have the case on how to implement a circular economy for batteries. This case will give you insights in the entire take-back scheme, reuse and recycling process with strategic choices, as well as challenges and success factors. This good practice example is coming from and presented by Kuburtz. And the fourth case is about Chinese standards. Masuma Faruqi will discuss the question on what can these standards achieve and where do they fail. So this was a very short introduction to the resourcing project and how the Flagship Lab is part of it. I hope you had interesting a couple of minutes, and I wish you very interesting videos and presentations on the Flagship cases. And I'm looking forward to meet you all in the Flagship Lab on the 1st of March. Thank you very much for your time, and goodbye.